All right, good evening, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to the Select Board meeting for October 6, 2020. Just as some preliminary matters, I just need to do some due diligence here and confirm member access with the Select Board. So just as a preliminary matter, I'm the chair of the Select Board. Permit me to just confirm that all the members and persons anticipated to be on the agenda are present and can hear me this evening. So members, when I call out your name, please answer and respond in the affirmative. Mr. Fazio.
Fazio present.
Mr. Often.
Often is present.
Mr. Prisby.
Frisbee here.
Ms. Roy.
Roy present.
Peter Carlson's here. If applicable, any staff, when I call your name, please announce that you can hear me in the affirmative. Mr. Carter Terenzini.
Present.
Okay. And additional speakers here tonight, Diane Hughes.
Here.
And Tim McKinn.
Here.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. This open meeting of the Town of Grafton Select Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend all public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed to encourage to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted to the town's website at www.grafton-ma.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment for a public hearing that is scheduled for the first part of this meeting. For this meeting, the Select Board is convened via Zoom meeting as posted at the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that the meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and that take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you may broadcast may be captured by the recording and viewed by the public. All supporting materials have been provided to the members of this body are available at the town website when final minutes are posted, unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I, the chair, note otherwise. Just some basic ground rules. Please note that I, as chair, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down a list of line of members, inviting each of you to have a moment on the floor to either make comments, questions, or motions. Please hold your name until called, and please raise your hand to be recognized. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking, and please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes for the public to see. So besides that, that's all I have. I have, let me pull up my agenda here. So first up, I've got a few announcements I'll read, and we'll go into public comments and go into the scheduled part of the meeting. I've got a COVID update. Just as a reminder, the municipal center remains closed to the public. However, appointments can be made between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. Monday through Friday by calling the department directly and scheduling times. Grafton today reported 2 new COVID cases, bringing the total cases to Grafton 121 after having several days of no new cases. Please note, Halloween is not a town-sanctioned event. We know residents are looking for guidance, so we urge you to check with the state website at www.mass.gov for information and guidance around Halloween activities. Please use caution, wear masks, maintain social distancing. If you prefer not to be a part of Halloween, please keep your lights off outside. Just a reminder that town meeting will be held Monday, October 19th at 7:30 p.m. It is scheduled to be held at the high school gymnasium and commons area. Also to note, we have November 3rd national election. Early voting will take place in the Municipal Center Gym at 30 Providence Road, beginning Saturday, October 17th through Friday, October 30th. The hours are as follows. Saturday through Sunday, 9 a.m. through 1 p.m., and then Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. through 4 p.m. Recreation Department wants to announce that annual Scarecrow Building Contest will be held on October 18th at the Grafton Common from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Individuals, families, and businesses are encouraged. Please wear face masks. Hay stakes and twine are provided. Just bring your decorations and imaginations. Voting will occur October 25th and winner will be announced October 27th. The Recreation Department is hosting a new pumpkin decorating event on October 24th at Holden Farm from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Paint and decorations will be provided when sugar pumpkins are being donated by the Holden Farm. A donation of $3 is suggested. Please be sure to wear a face mask. That's all the announcements I have. Ms. Roy, do we have anything that we need to read for public comment or read?
We have one item. It's from Amanda Kelly. Hello, I received notice of the request for additional propane and gas storage at 134 Ferry Street in Grafton. And my question is why they need the additional propane storage? How will an increase affect our street operating hours, sound, light, pollution, etc.? I would like for the select board to consider restricting the amount of light that 134 emits during off hours. The facility is fully lit up at nearly all hours of the night, and it appears unnecessarily so. Reducing the lights will save on energy and help our planet. It will also help the neighborhood if there isn't much light pollution. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Colleen. Appreciate that. So first up, we had scheduled here, we have a public hearing for LPG storage license. This is a public hearing. And at this point, if I could get a motion to open the public hearing, please.
Yes. I move the board vote to open the public hearing for the amended LPG storage license for facility owned by Dan Hughes and located at 134 Ferry Street, South Grafton.
I have a motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the public hearing? All those by roll call vote, please. Ms. DeFazio.
DeFazio, aye.
Mr. Often.
Often aye.
Mr. Prisby.
Frisbee, aye.
Ms. Roy.
Roy, aye.
Peter Carlson, aye. Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Okay, so if you want to read the legal notice, Ms. Roy, on the public hearing first, please.
Legal notice, an application for amendment has been received from owner Dan Hughes of 389 Kelly Road, Northbridge, 01534, to amend the current liquid propane gas storage license, which supplies liquid gas propane for the wiring and cable manufacturing facility at 134 Ferry Street, South Grafton, Mass. The amendment will increase the overall storage by 1,500 gallons by adding one additional 1,000 gallon tank and one 500 gallon tank. The Grafton Select Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October 6th via Zoom. The meeting link will be posted on the October 6th agenda. The Select Board meeting begins at 7. Interested citizens are invited to attend the public hearing via Zoom or submit written comments to the Select Board, Grafton Municipal Center, 30 Providence Road, Grafton, Mass. 01519, or by email to bos@grafton-mass.gov. All written comments must be received by close of business day, Thursday, October 1st, 2020. The purpose of this hearing is to provide an opportunity for public comment. Anyone wishing to may attend Grafton Select Board.
Thank you, Ms. Roy. If we want to go ahead and get overview from people seeking the license. Pardon me?
That would be me. Tim, do you want to comment on this?
Tim, if you would just rename your Zoom meeting to say Tim Hughes, please. It says Diane. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's me. I'm Dan Hughes.
Dan Hughes.
And
Okay.
and Tim McGinn is
I'm the operations
Engi-
manager at Suburban Propane.
Thank you.
okay.
Dan, thank you. I don't really have anything to add. There's a need for additional storage there to increase the vapor that is produced by the LP containers. And so that's the reason Dan has asked us to help him out with this.
All right. Any questions from the board with regards to this amended license? Mr. Often?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I noticed that the fire chief signed off on this. I did reach out to him and see if there had been any previous issues with the usage or handling of the propane, and he indicated that there wasn't, and he didn't have any safety concerns with regards to this amendment.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Mr. Fazio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to address the letter that was written in public comments and just see if there's any anything, Dan, that you want to say or anything that you think could be done regarding light pollution on the property. I know that, changing lights out is expensive, but asking the question, for the good of the neighborhood as well as the business is important. So, just wanted to see if you had a comment about that.
Yeah, those lights that were installed are LED. They're new, and it basically for security to keep the lights on and keep people away, and it's purely for safety and theft. I don't know. I've redirected the lights in the past because I've talked to the neighbors about it, and kind of repositioned them and actually removed a few. But that was done, that whole lighting scheme on the outside was engineered. So this is the first I've heard of it. I've talked to 3 or 4 of the neighbors. A couple of them had me adjust the lights, but that was the last I heard, that there were any problems.
Thank you for that. And
They
go ahead.
They are on a timer, so they're only on for the hours of the night, and then they shut off. And I do plan on putting that on a photoelectric cell as well. So they'll only be on when the sun is down. Right now it's on a time clock, so I have to manually adjust that. But that's about it.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for continuing to work with the neighbors in the area. It sounds like you're doing that, which is very
Yeah,
important.
you're welcome.
And,
You're welcome.
I understand that it's because of safety. And
Yeah.
so I just wanted that on the record as well. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay. All right, at this point, hearing none, could I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I move the board vote to close the public hearing for the amended LPG storage license for facility owned by Dan Hughes and located at 134 Ferry Street, South Grafton.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any discussion on the motion for closing the public hearing? Mr. Often.
Yeah, just quickly, I'm wondering if we should just ask if the attendees have anything that they want to ask, since this is a public hearing.
Sure, I'll permit that. If any of the attendees would like to ask a question, do so by using the raise hand function within the Zoom meeting, and we'll give a few minutes.
Can I withdraw my motion while we do that?
Sure. I'll recognize that. All right. I'm not seeing anybody.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be a good idea.
Thank you for reminding me. Appreciate it, Matt. All right, going once, going twice. All right. I'm not seeing anyone from the public wanting to raise their hand and ask a question. All right, at this point, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move the board vote to close the public hearing for the amended LPG storage license for the facility owned by Dan Hughes and located at 134 Ferry Street, South Grafton.
Motion made in second. Any discussion on closing the public hearing? Hearing none. All those by roll call vote. Mr. Fazio,
Fazio, aye.
Mr. Often,
Austin, aye.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yeah.
Ms. Roy,
Roy, aye.
Peter Carlson, aye. Okay, so next up, we have a motion to approve or deny for the amended LPG storage license. So at this time, if the board's ready, I can entertain a motion for that, or if there's any further discussion that they would like to have.
I move the board vote to approve the amended LPG storage license for the facility owned by Dan Hughes and located at 134 Ferry Street, South Grafton.
Second,
Motion made and seconded on the motion to approve the LPG storage license. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, by roll call, please. Mr. Fazio,
Fazio, I.
Mr. Often,
Often, aye.
Mr. Frisbee.
Aye.
Ms. Roy,
Roy, I.
Peter Carlson, aye. Okay, declare the motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming in and answering our questions. Have a great night. We
Thank you,
appreciate
too.
you working with the neighbors. Yep, have a good night.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you for that. We don't have any resignations tonight. We do have an appointment for Curtis Williams for emergency management. At this point, if there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion to appoint.
I move the board vote to appoint Curtis Williams to emergency management for an indefinite term.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion for appointment? Hearing none. By roll call, please. Mr. Fazio,
Fazio, I.
Mr. Often,
Often, aye.
Mr. Frisbee,
Frisbee, aye.
Ms. Roy,
Roy, I.
Peter Carlson, I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Let's see, next up here, we have appointments, town administrator appointment. Mr. Terenzini, do you want to give us an update on this?
Very briefly, as you know, Cody Hurd has started with the assessor's office. That has taken him away from the front desk. We cast about with department heads for suggestions on alternate staff, senior work off, and the like. And we did get one suggestion. So we did appoint on a temporary basis pending your confirmation this evening. Ms. Kelly, she'll be working from 8:30 to 12, the hours that Cody had been doing up through December 30, while the CARES money continues to pay for that position. Longer term, we'll be talking with the staff on Thursday. We had a conversation 2 weeks ago about restaffing, and we'll be continuing that conversation on Thursday. I really don't know how much I can add beyond that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right. Any discussion? Or if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move the board vote to affirm the appointment of Elizabeth Kelly as a temporary town employee responsible for monitoring the front entrance of the Grafton Municipal Center.
Second,
I have a motion made and seconded for the affirmation. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those by roll call, please. Mr. Fazio,
Fazio, I.
Mr. Often,
Often, aye.
Mr. Frisbee,
Okay.
Ms. Roy,
Roy, I.
Peter Carlson, I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. All right, so next up, we have in front of us tonight, intent to sell 30 Tulip Circle. Mr. Terenzini, do you want to give us an update on this one as well?
I'm afraid I have to admit to being not familiar with this as I'd like to.
So we have in front of us tonight an intent to sell her affordable unit at 30 Tulip Circle. Notice was forwarded to the Affordable Housing Trust for comment. Please see the recommendation. So this unit is part of the Hilltop Farms Chapter 40B development for which the Citizens Housing and Planning Association, CHAPA, serves as the monitoring agent. Is there any questions or concerns on this?
Sure.
Mr. Frisbee.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, this is typically what we do with the Hilltop Farms. In fact, most of these 40B units that come up, we have a right of first refusal on them. If we don't exercise that right, they go out to bid through CHAPA. So this is par for our course with how we handle these units when they do come up.
Thank you for the explanation. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I can entertain a motion.
I move the board vote to not exercise its right to purchase the affordable unit located at 30 Tulip Circle.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those by roll call, please. Mr. Fazio,
Fazio, I.
Mr. Often,
Often, aye.
Mr. Prisby,
Frisbee, aye.
Ms. Roy,
Roy, I.
Peter Carlson, I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Next up, we have a vote to sign the warrant for state election for November 3rd, 2020. So there will be 7 copies available. We need to get that signed down after this vote as soon as possible down at the TA's office. Unless anyone has any questions on this, pretty straightforward. I can entertain a motion.
I move the board vote to sign the warrant for the state election on November 3rd, 2020.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none. All those by roll call. Mr. Fazio,
Fazio, I.
Mr. Often,
Often, aye.
Mr. Prisby.
Aye.
Ms. Roy,
Roy, I.
Carlson, I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. So next up on our agenda tonight is vote to sign Veteran District Renewal Letter for 2020. As you all know, we're part of a consortium of towns that share veteran services with Northborough, Shrewsbury, and Westboro. So tonight, we're looking for authorized chair to sign the renewal letter for 2020 to participate. Is there any questions on this? Okay, not seeing any, I can entertain a motion.
I move the board vote to authorize the chairman to sign the Veterans District Renewal Letter for 2020.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. All those by roll call, please. Mr. Fazio,
Fazio, I.
Mr. Often,
Often, aye.
Mr. Prisby.
Aye.
Ms. Roy,
Roy, I.
Carlson, I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have some select board TA reports. If it's okay, I want to kind of get through a few of these here real quick for you. So DPW building project. We had a meeting last week with the DPW building committee. They're looking forward to having certificate of occupancy, I believe, either this week, I think, or no later than the beginning of next week, and upon which you will see, once they receive that occupancy, you'll start seeing the DPW crew moving its operations from Upton Road to its new location on Old Westboro Road. Anyone have any questions on that? Okay. Just to let you know, I know we've been talking about this local tax relief committee, and this was on me to get some logistics together from Mr. Prisby. I just wanted to let you know that this will be on an upcoming meeting. Mr. Terenzini has been working with me on getting a charge together and some of the staff members that Mr. Prisby has requested at a future meeting. So that will be in the next few weeks. We'll have that on our agenda to start that discussion. Any questions on that? Ms. Roy?
I thought there was a charge already for this. That was just like 99% there. Is that not, are we not using that one?
That's correct. There is a charge that was presented to us, but we wanted to hold off and have some discussion with staff members, and Mr. Terenzini is coordinating that with his group within the town office. Okay, next up, so I've reached out to the chairs of the school committee and the finance committee about having a TRICOM committee. I believe probably ideally it would be best done after October town meeting. They're going to get back to me with some dates. We have a pretty busy October, so I would like to know if we can try to get this meeting on the November workshop time frame and have that. If there are items that you want to have discussed at TRICOM, I would encourage you to get those in sooner rather than at the last minute, as it'll take a little bit of time to perhaps gather some information that would need to be shared with all three groups. That's all I have for select board member reports. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to report? Ms. Roy?
If you have a concern that you would like addressed at TRICOM, are we sending them to you, to Carter, to Jay? Who would you like us to send it to?
See how we're going to put the agenda together. I figure if you want to send them up to the chair, and the three chairs will share what those are, and we'll figure out a good format to cover all those concerns at that meeting. Remember, this is the school committee, finance committee, and select board. So any concerns, I think that if we could come up with, it was my desire that it be, that they're addressable on all three committees. If there are certain things that don't involve the school committee or don't involve the finance committee but school committee, I would say we probably have another meeting with just that group for those concerns. So anything you have, just send it up and we'll put that together on the agenda. Anybody else? Any questions? Anyone have any other select board member reports? Mr. Fazio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify too, we have 2 workshop dates scheduled for November. Is that correct? So it'll be one of those 2 is ideally is what we're looking at.
Yes, I think it's dependent on if those workshop dates work. If not, then we'll meet like some other day during the week, like a Wednesday or Thursday that we've done in the past.
Great. But it'll be considered a workshop too, as well,
Correct.
right?
That's
Great.
correct, yeah.
Okay. I do have a couple updates. We are going to schedule our second half of our goals meeting for October 20th. So I just wanted to see if the board was available for that date, which is a Tuesday. And then we're talking because it sounds like all of us would like to meet in person again, if possible. And because it's getting darker earlier, I wanted to know if the board would be available to perhaps meeting earlier. And you don't have to answer that right now. You can send an email out, but I would like to check with the Lions Club as soon as possible to see if that location is available. And if not, I can look at other locations around town and we'll find a place to hold the second half of this meeting. I thought that was a great venue. So hopefully we can get that. And if 4:30, 5 o'clock works for everybody, then, you know, maybe we can bump the meeting up a few hours. If not, we'll work with it and we'll get it done. The second thing I want to say is there's going to be an Economic Development Committee meeting this Thursday at 7 p.m. So I'll be attending that. One of the items on the agenda is the discussion of 27 Upton Street. So I will update the board once I hear more information on that. I went to the CMMPO Southeast meeting a couple weeks ago that this board had voted on me going, and Jesse Lemanik was voted to continue being the representative. This group meets as to talk about community needs for long-term transportation planning. And I was voted as the alternate for this committee as well. And I'm excited about it because it sort of gives a voice to Grafton. Main Street in South Grafton is one of the projects where we're getting grant money for this. I've known Jesse for many years because he's been a select board member in Sutton. So I'm looking forward to working under his guidance and getting to know some more of the regional leaders and working with other communities. I'm a big fan of regionalization in the area, and it kind of goes hand in hand with economic development as well. So just wanted to let you guys know that I'll be stepping into that role starting next Wednesday, and I'll give you updates on that as well. And then I know this was brought up in a few emails. Mass Municipal Association is holding a training webinar on October 27th at 9 a.m. for best practices in hiring a town manager. I know Matt and I had a quick conversation via email today that the two of us plan on attending, and it's at 9 a.m. I know it's a tough time for people, but I know some of the town managers that are involved in that, and I think it'll be good for us to attend if schedules work out. Colleen?
So I just have a question about that. I've registered to go to that already as well. So if you admit that, should we post that we're going to be all there just in case? I think we
No,
should.
you don't have to.
No?
No, I mean, if we all go to a Red Sox game, we don't have to post that we're all going to a Red Sox game. I mean, it's just if we're deliberating on something, you got to post it, but it'll be fine if we're all attending remotely wherever we are going to the same conference.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed. Yeah, I guess since we're not going to be the ones in the discussion, we're just going to be watching the webinar and asking perhaps the people who are giving the webinar. That sounds right. So I think that's all I have. That's it. Thank you.
Any other select board member reports? Ms. Roy?
So I spoke with the moderator last week and everything for town meeting is going well. He didn't seem to have any concerns or hiccups with that. So I just wanted to update the board on town meeting.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, any other member reports? Mr. Austin.
Yeah, I just wanted to update the board with the Disability Commission, I guess, activity. So they're working with making sure that we've gotten our grants in for the MOD grant opportunities. This is both on the school and the town side. So hopefully we'll have some success there. I guess a particular interest is on the school side. They're going for the self-evaluation grant. So hopefully we can add the schools to the list of self-evaluation opportunities that we have available to us.
Thank you. All right, anybody, anything else? All right, appreciate that. Thank you. Mr. Terenzini, do you want to give us an update?
Yes, first, excuse me, the motions for the fall town meeting have gone off to town council. She marked a few up. Those are now just being vetted, and Joanne will get them all cleaned up. They've been provided to the finance committee, as well as some responses to questions that they had. With respect to the town accountant position, we've been looking at that since my entry, and I've been looking at it in parallel with the vacancy in the assistant town administrator's position. I believe that the jobs, both of them, need to be, I'm not going to say reimagined, but reviewed and reconsidered. The likelihood of hiring a accomplished town accountant at the price range that we have is limited. These are extremely difficult people to find across the state. You can talk with DOR, but if you've got a finance position, whether it's assessing, treasure collector, or accountancy, they're very difficult to fill. So I have begun to redraft the accountant's position as one of finance director. And we'll be asking you on October 27 to consider a change in the classification plan that would allow us to move those dollars up. I think between some added dollars and enhancing the position, it'll make it more attractive. We are in competition with our peers. Millbury's in search of a finance director right now. Well, they're not in commuting distance. If you look at the town of Kingsborough as one example, you're going to see the challenge out there. In reimagining that job position, I'm going to be looking forward to take on a little bit more budgetary responsibility in terms of preparing the template, collecting the data, and putting it forth for the town administrator's consideration. We've moved capital over to planning, working with Ms. Roy and her group, and we're moving some pieces around. I believe that an assistant to the town administrator, someone more of a management analyst, perhaps grants, may be a better fit as we create this as I ask you to consider creating this finance position. So both of those job descriptions would have impact with the need for an amendment to the classification plan, and those will be before you on October 27. In the meantime, we're going to have to find some part-time staff that we could put to work getting the budget template constructed. Pardon my hustling over here. I'm about to lose my laptop, I'm afraid. We have Chief Gothier, I, Mr. Charest, Mr. Berger are interviewing a candidate for fire inspector on Tuesday evening. And hopefully this time will be the charm and we'll be able to report back to you on 10/27 with a formal appointment. The chief has informed me that he has some software needs. We also have some added staffing needed to get his permitting updated. I'll have a clearer picture for you on that at that point in time. with respect to the fire chief transition, there's really not much we can do at this point until such time as we see what happens at the fall town meeting. I really think that's pretty much what I can touch upon on those various positions. Happy to answer any questions as to why I'm going to be bringing you this package in the way that I am. Happy to hear thoughts and comments.
All right, I'm gonna go from left to right. Mr. Often and then Mr. Frisbee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Terenzini, I just wanted to make sure that as we, I guess, reimagine or recraft these roles, that we take a pretty deep dive into the kind of nuts and bolts of what everybody does so that we don't have any gaps left after we've hired the two positions. So I guess that's my only comment on that. Thank you.
Yep, understood. We're going to, because we're going to have to look at the workload also, but I think that we can get this done in a manner that lets us boost the finance director's pay, and with that added title, I'm hopeful it'll be a little more attractive to some folks.
Yep.
When I get those drafts done, I'll get those out to you for comment ahead of time.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. I understand the reasoning. Makes perfect sense to me. I just want to make sure that we're not leaving anything that's currently being done off the table, I guess, as we think about splitting the work up and redistributing it.
One of the things that may get left off the table is I do believe that the Ms. Meekins had a penchant to take on many projects, and there are some that perhaps should have stayed in the departments where the department manager might have had yes, they might have had their own workload issues, but perhaps they might have had a better handle on the specific issues. So I do see that position, perhaps subject to your action and approval, changing a little bit as to the, not necessarily the depth, but certainly the width of items that it took on in that office.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Frisbee?
No, I think Matt mostly got it. You know, what we're looking for when we're reorganizing things is the extent to which we're obviously going to make things more efficient. And if we're saying that, well, actually, we can make things more efficient by implementing a finance director position, getting somebody qualified that we desperately need in the accounting department, as well as tackling some of the grant writing issues that we've been, I think, desperately in need of over the course of the past couple of years. And that's nothing but a positive. I think as Schoolhouse Rock once said, without mother necessity, where would we be? So that sounds good. We can tackle this on the 27th.
Schoolhouse rocks. Nice quote. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Terenzini? You know it's a meeting when you can quote Schoolhouse rocks. All right. All right. Thank you very much, Carter. Ms. Wright, I know we chatted briefly about correspondence. Did we want to handle that tonight or wait for the next meeting due to some uncertainties?
I'm going to leave off the questionable ones, but tackle the ones that are pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Which are somewhere. Okay, so the first correspondence I have is from, I apologize if I pronounce this incorrectly, Sita Raman Ganesan, expressing his concern with the Grafton Water District, as that is a private company. He was advised to contact them directly. Ralph Eddy expressing his concern with the new Grafton Public School 2021 calendar. Richard Kurjek requesting the library to reopen. And Ethel Jaggi expressed her support of a letter sent to the planning board regarding High Point Estates.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Terenzini?
Can I redo something real quickly? Ms. Roy had at the last meeting spoken about marketing for Grafton Strong, and I'm not sure if anybody noticed it, but we've revised the home webpage. The top tab on the left now allows people to donate or apply for Grafton Strong, as opposed simply to donate for COVID, as it was previously labeled. And when folks click on that, they'll come to a single page, which explains to them three basic things. One, how to donate. Two, how to apply, what it's all about. And then the policy that set it up is accessible also from that. So it's a little more prominent, and hopefully that will generate some traction and address some of the concern that was raised.
Just on that, would the board want me to share the screen out just to show the public what we're referring to? So this is what you're referring to right here, Mr. Terenzini?
It is?
Yep. So when we click on here, this is the page that comes up.
Yep.
Okay.
So that hopefully gives it a little more prominent position on the homepage. I think it's more clearly identified as to what that tab was all about. Previously, I think it said donate for COVID or something along those lines.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions on that? Okay, moving along here. We have two sets of meeting minutes tonight that need approval. September 22nd.
I move the board vote to approve the September 22nd, 2020 meeting minutes as presented.
Second,
I have a motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, all those by roll call, please. Mr. Fazio,
DeFazio, aye.
Mr. Often,
Often, aye.
Mr. Prisby,
Frisbee, aye.
Ms. Roy,
Roy, I.
Peter Carlson, I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Next up, we have meeting minutes for September 29th, 2020.
I move the board vote to approve the September 29th, 2020 meeting minutes as presented.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? I have one. On line 51, if we can just fix a typo for execution of Adams Road easements. I think there's just a typo at where it's supposed to say road. Any other discussion?
Did I amend my motion to include
Oh,
your
sure.
correction?
You can.
I amend my motion to include Peter Carlson's correction.
All right. Do I have a second on that?
second,
Thank you. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion on the amended minutes? All right, seeing none, all those by roll call, please. Mr. Fazio,
DeFazio, aye.
Mr. Often,
Often, aye.
Mr. Prisby,
Frisbee, aye.
Ms. Roy,
Roy, I.
Carlson, I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. And last but not least, we just have a few ongoing tasks here that we have regarding election audit, library building project, creation charge for the land database, and Upton Street RFP. So if I can work backwards here, so we had a discussion earlier, an update from Mr. Fazio about Upton Street RFP. Is there anything in addition that we need to have at our future meeting for this, or are we? I mean, just I want to ask the board. If it feels we need to keep this on here. Okay. And the creation of a charge for a land database. I meant to put that under select board member reports earlier. I've been speaking with Carter, and we're looking to probably we have to review the last meeting where we were talking to Mr. Robbins, who came in and was talking about updating all town-owned land database and create a single point where all of that's located. We have found an older charge for Grafton. I believe it was called the land use. I believe Cindy found it, or Joanne found it. Sorry if I got the name, who found what first. Late last week. We want to bring that forward to the board for consideration at a future meeting. And Carter and I are going to work together on getting something in front of us and get that project underway. Any questions on the land use database? Or land database, I should say. Okay. Library building project. I know Doreen, you're our rep on the building committee. I mean, has there any update or anything? Do we want to keep this here? Do we want to move it to select board member reports and you just give us periodic reports? I don't know how the board wants to handle this item.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll chime in. So unfortunately, there was a building committee meeting last evening, and it was a little earlier than I could attend with my work schedule, so I was unable to attend. I will watch the meeting this week, and I can update the board at our next meeting. And if we want to bring Andy in at some point for an overview and update of the overall project, if the board members would prefer that, we could do that as well. But as far as I know, everything's on schedule. And he'll probably be coming to us to sign some POs shortly anyway. Meaning Andy.
Mr. Hoffman?
So they're seeking a occupancy permit? Is that right? Yeah, I mean, I think once they've got that, I'm not sure there's much that we need in terms of ongoing, aside from sort of the groundbreaking date. I think we're sort of a wrap on that one. Just great progress.
When is the groundbreaking date on this? I always lose track.
It's scheduled for June.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on that? All right. And, oh, we had a visitor. That's great. Last but not least, I know our favorite topic here, election audit. I know we're still in the process of trying to schedule the attorney from Copeland and Page to come out and conduct this. I guess what we'll try to do is probably the next week or two, see what about getting a firm date set up and figure out when this is going to happen. I mean, we're fast approaching a November election, and I know we wanted to try to have this done beforehand, but I know this is something we wanted to get done, but I mean, this is where we're at. So I'll try to get an update for the board either at the next meeting. Mr. Hoffman.
So I have a hard time rewarding this kind of wanting to continue with this service with such a lack of interest. It seems like from the firm that we've hired. I hate to add anything more, but is there a way we can pivot to another firm that might be able to come in more quickly and with more urgency? I mean, we're here, people are voting. This is ridiculous. Is there a second option for us?
Other than, I don't know, canceling the contract? Well, I don't know who else we would look for. Everyone pointed to this one person. I mean, we can ask around to see who else could do it. I think that's the only other option if the board still wishes to go down this road.
There must be somebody else. It seems like this has gone into this weird black hole for weeks now. And so that, this isn't a like criticism at all, but of anybody from the town side, but I don't get it. I really don't understand.
I think it's a legitimate question. I guess it's up to what the board wants to do going forward. Ms. Roy, I'm sorry, Mr. Prisby and then Ms. Roy. Sorry, you had your hand first.
So with regard to this particular service, it's not a very well-kept secret in municipal law that there's really only one game in town. That's a firm in Massachusetts. And then there's a lot of smaller firms that do municipal law. And this particular firm gets a lot of business, and they pay attention to what they want to pay attention to, and sometimes they get around to what they get around to. I think doing the audit is still crucial, and I would think that even after November 3rd. And I, to be candid, have questions about the operation of the office right now. We haven't had a discussion here, and I'm not even sure if this is the time or the place, but frankly, sometimes I can never figure out what the time or the place is to have a discussion about the operation of town government with open meeting law and agendas and stuff. So I'll just say it. I think that between now and November, if we can't get this done, I need assurances from the clerk's office that this is going to run smoothly. I think someone needs to come in here, and I think someone needs to explain to me what's going on, what's different from the last time, and how this is all working, because I have concerns. I do. I'm sorry. You know, and I know that that office is independent, but at the same time, in my lifetime, and not to put too fine a point on it, there has never been a more important election. There has never been a time where democracy has needed to function at its best, to give people the assurance that voting is a worthwhile thing to do. So I need to hear from somebody between now and November that this is going to go off without a hitch.
See what I can do for you. Ms. Roy and then Mr. Austin.
I agree with both Matt and Ed right now. I agree that this is a very important audit. I would like to see it completed. I understand there might be one game in town, but it wouldn't hurt to find out if there is another. And have we made any luck with reaching out to KP Law in the last week at all? Has there been any response from them?
Mr. Chanzini?
If you would like, I had spoken to some folks, and the attorney you were going to use was the one that first came to mind. They are recognized as being very knowledgeable. However, experts that don't do the job are of no use to you. I have not had returns. I can certainly try and make another email and another call tomorrow, and if the board would like, I can cast about for someone else. They may not be as well recognized in the law, but if they have some credentials and some knowledge, perhaps getting this thing done expeditiously may turn out to be as important or more important to you than having it done by the very best person in the state. I would leave that to you all. If you would like me to take this up.
Mr. Austin?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment too that it wasn't just, this was not just an issue with sort of the clerk's office, right? There was a clear identification of the amount of resourcing that they were getting from the town. So in addition to understanding, what's going to be different this time, whether or not we're able to complete an audit in the next 3 weeks or not, I'd like to get some assurances there, but also we need to make sure that we are giving that office the resources that they need to be able to carry out this election process. And I think that is critical. And that's something that, for a variety of reasons, partially because we were in COVID and there was a fair amount of chaos generally in town. I think that the impact of all of this sort of mail in and getting the ballots out to the constituents, getting them back, processing them, I don't think that it was fully appreciated, the impact that it would have on that office. So I think we need to recognize that and make sure that we're planning proactively to make sure they have the resources to successfully make this happen.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything else? Ms. Roy?
I just wanted to second Mr. Prisby's point about having the town clerk come in, and I'd like to hear from that department about where they're at and what they need right from the horse's mouth.
We'll work with Mr. Chanzini on that. Mr. Fazio?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'll chime in. I mean, I agree with what everybody's saying about public assurance, especially in this upcoming national election. I had raised my hand about resources and Matt covered that, I think 100%. I am, as you all know, sort of believe in the org chart that we've hired a temporary town administrator for a reason, and that the department head reports to him and not directly to the board, and that we're the executive board and we should not be sort of mingling in this without Mr. Terenzini involved. So I would ask and request that we ask him to talk to the clerk's office, find out what they need, what their resources are, what their timeline is, and report back to us. If there is a need to also have the department head at that meeting, I'm fine with that. We can absolutely talk to him, but I think the way it should occur is through our town administrator.
Okay. All right, anybody, anything else? Okay. All right, that's all I have Just a reminder before we adjourn, if you would all get down to the office and sign paperwork that we need to get done, especially around the warrant for the national election. I think that's pretty important, as we heard tonight. There's 7 copies that we need to sign, so be sure to sign your name 7 times. I don't have anything else. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and at this point, I can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Hoffman.
just before we conclude that last topic, I just want to sort of wrap that up. So I'm happy getting assurances from Mr. Terenzini in terms of the election process. I'm happy for him to liaise with that office and get those assurances and bring that to the board. So personally, I don't need them to come in and speak to us directly. I'm also happy at this point for Mr. Terenzini to just reach out again to see if we can get more urgency from KP Law. So I don't think necessarily that we need to look for another option, I guess, after the discussion.
Okay. Ms. Roy?
I just have another question that's off that topic, and I'm not sure if it could go under ongoing task, if this is something we could add to that. Is it something you want me to address with you separately or just ask you right now?
You can ask me separately, you can ask me right now. It's completely up to you.
All right. I do have a question about where we stand on our cannabis policy. You know, if another company came in right now, would we issue another host community agreement? If not, why not? Do we need to update our host community agreement? So to me, that seems like that's been something that the board has kind of touched on here and there, but never really come back on. So I would like to know what our full cannabis policy is and where we stand on a couple of those issues.
Okay. All right, I'll add that. Any other questions? Okay. All right, I can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move the board adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those by roll call, please. Mr. Fazio?
Fazio, aye.
Mr. Often?
Often aye.
Mr. Frisbee?
Frisbee, aye.
Ms. Roy?
Roy, aye.
Peter Carlson, aye. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.